Welcome everyone. This is the text and context page of the Hindu, and I will explain this news in 3 steps. First is, why is the article written in this page? What exactly are the reasons? Second is, what is written in the article? And third is, what can we expect in the future about the topic that is written in that particular article? So we will start with the first explainer, which is the ban on export of broken rice. So why exactly this article is written? Because on September 9th, the union government has instituted a ban on export of broken rice, and China is the major country who is the importer of this broken rice. So you should know the difference between a proper rice and a broken rice. So broken rice is particularly used for animal feeding, and basmati rice and all other different types of rice, these are used for human consumption, especially basmati or parboiled rice. So now we will go into subheading, how is the ethanol blending program connected to rice export ban? How have rice importing countries reacted? How has China reacted? And what is this connection to the ethanol blending? We know ethanol is made from sugar industry. It is a part of sugar industry. Then how come the rice comes in between it? So we will see now what is the news. What is the story so far? On September 9th, the center instituted a ban on the export of broken rice. Additionally, it mandated an export of 20% on rice in husk, paddy or rough, husked brown rice, and semi-milled or wholly milled rice. So ban just on broken rice and additional export duty of 20% on all these rice. And why exactly these export duties are pushed for the farmers? So that domestic needs and demands are not compressed. The measures do not affect the export of basmati or parboiled rice. Secretary at the Department of Food and Public Distribution, Sudhanshu Pandey, he stated that measures would ensure adequate availability of broken rice for the consumption by the domestic poultry industry and for other animal feedstock. So this is the particular use of broken rice. In our country, domestic poultry industry and other animals, cattle, they feed on this broken rice. So for adequate availability, it should be there for their consumption. Additionally, it would sustain production of ethanol that would further assist the successful implementation of Union Government's Ethanol Blending Program (EBP). What exactly is the status? How much ethanol is blended in petrol? Currently, this status is 9%. And goal is 20%. So it will sustain the production of ethanol that would further assist the successful implementation of Union Government Ethanol Blending Program. This is EBP. However, the measures may affect countries dependent on Indian food exports in the face of lost breadbasket in Ukraine owing to the Russian conflict. So Ukraine was also a major exporter of food such as wheat. It was, you can call, broken. The supply chain was broken because of the conflict, and now India has put ban on exports, first on wheat and then on broken rice. So how exactly these countries have reacted? These may affect the countries that are the major importers of Indian food. What does it have to do with inflation? Lower the supply of a commodity, the higher would be the price of a product. Simple economics. If there are less number of things in the market and more people are there with a lot of money, then the price of that product will obviously be higher. And that leads to inflationary pressures. The adequacy of rice stocks in the country would ensure that markets do not experience excess demand and thus trigger an abrupt price rise. So, cattle are there in India. They need the food, they need the broken rice to eat. And if all that rice is exported to foreign countries, then demand will rise and the food stock will be less. So to make sure that market do not experience this excess demand, and because of this it can trigger an abrupt price rise, to not make this happen, they have put a ban on such rice. For 7 consecutive months, inflation has been above RBI 6% tolerability threshold. If you don't know, I'll tell you, there is a threshold 4 plus minus 2. The lower threshold is 2%. Inflation must be between 2% and then upper is 6%. But it is more than 6%. In fact, it has touched 7% a lot of times. The Consumer Price Index CPI, or retail based inflation, stood at 7% in August this year, with rural and urban inflation scaling 7.15% and 6.72%. So rural inflation is more than urban inflation. You see that 7% and 6%. This was furthered by an uptick of 7.62% in food prices during the same period. COVID-19 pandemic also had an impact on India's previously held surplus. As a reaction to the distress caused by pandemic to the vulnerable sections, because of this distress that was caused by the pandemic to the vulnerable section, what Union Cabinet has done? Union Cabinet had introduced a food security program called the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana (PMGK) in March 2020. This was to help the vulnerable section who could not afford or who could not get food from the markets. This scheme provisions an additional 5 kg ration per person each month, in addition to their normal quota of food grains under the National Food Security Act. In order to secure the food security, in order to make that happen, 5 kg ration per person was given as an extra support. In March, the scheme was extended for another 6 months until September this year, 2022. The Hindu Business Line has reported this week that food grain stocks, that includes rice, wheat and unmilled paddy, in the Food Corporation of India, which is FCI, central pool has dropped 33.5% on year-over-year basis to 60.11 million tons as of September 1, prompting doubts on the continuation of the scheme. So we have seen these pools flowing out. An abundance of food grains in India, but now exactly what is the situation? These pools collection are dropping. Only 60.11 million tons food grains are there. So there is a doubt that after September 2022, will this scheme of extra 5 kg ration will continue or not? Research analyst at Nomura observed that on the whole, though rice stocks should remain above the buffer levels, the current export restrictions may not necessarily improve the demand-supply situation materially. So because of this ban in exports and additional 20% export duty, these stocks should remain above the buffer levels. But these export restrictions, both ban and also 20% export duty, may not necessarily improve the demand supply situation, materially implying that there remains an upside risk to the price of rice. So even after this ban and also export duty, the demand supply situation will not improve. And also there is a risk that price of rice may increase. As such, we believe that there is a risk that further curbs on rice export could be imposed, particularly in categories still exempted. What that means? This means that only ban has been put on broken rice, not on basmati, not on parboiled, and only export duty has been put on rice in husked and semi-milled or wholly milled rice. But there are further situations that may occur that can lead to more curb on rice export. There is a possibility that these rice exports could be curbed, and particularly in categories that are still exempted, the categories that I said previously. What happened to rice production? A major rice cultivation season in India is the Kharif season that entails sowing the crop during June, July and harvesting them in November, December. What exactly happened? Why there is a less rice production? Because of rainfall deficit. This year, no sufficient rainfall have occurred in order to support the farmers. A lot of farmers in our country are dependent only on rain, not on external water supply. So all the crops, because of this high humidity and no rain, they suffered, and as a result there was less production. In 2018-19 ethanol supply year, the government has allowed the FCI to sell surplus rice to ethanol plants for fuel production. So this ethanol I will explain later. Now we will continue to what happened to rice production. So it is imperative to note that rice is a water intensive crop which also requires a hot and humid climate. That's why the best season for sowing it is June and July. Then August, September, October, all these are hot and humid climate, plus a climate that showers rainfall on them. This is the best suited to regions which have high humidity, prolonged sunshine and an assured supply of water. These are the needs for the crop to grow. It is for this reason that the eastern and southern regions of the country with sustainable humidity and suitable mean temperatures are deemed favorable for the crop. While the two regions are able to grow paddy crop throughout the year, higher rainfall and temperature prompt the northern region to grow only one crop of rice from May to November. Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Punjab, Haryana, Chhattisgarh, Odisha, Madhya Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Maharashtra, Uttar Pradesh and Bihar are among the rice producing states in India. A perusal of Indian Meteorological Department's data between June 1 and September 14 illustrated that Uttar Pradesh, Jharkhand, Punjab and Bihar have experienced deficient rainfall. The latter refers to the rainfall being 20 to 59% below in a particular region, below normal in a particular region. This is the condition of rainfall, 20 to 60% below normal. You can imagine that. Although West Bengal, the country's largest producer, have overall experienced a normal rainfall. So its major productivity areas such as Nadia, Burdwan, Birbhum have had deficient rainfall. This indicates a potentially lower produce this year. So what we conclude, lower rainfall, deficient rainfall in whole of the India. This has led to lower production of rice this year. Now what are the concerns on ethanol blending? What is ethanol? Ethanol is an agro-based product mainly produced from molasses, which is a byproduct of sugar industries. And why exactly ethanol is used? It is used to blend with. So ethanol is blend with fossil fuels. Ethanol is a zero polluter and fossil fuels pollute a lot. So by mixing this, it can combat pollution. So we see ethanol, just EBP, endeavors to blend ethanol with vehicular fuels as a means to combat the use of fossil fuels and in turn rising pollution. As per the government, sugar-based feedstock alone would not be able to meet its stipulated target of 20% ethanol blending by 2025. You see that. What is the target? 20% by 2025. In 2018-19 ethanol supply year, the government had allowed the FCI to sell surplus rice to ethanol plants for fuel production. 2018-19 you see. Government allowed Food Corporation of India to sell surplus rice to ethanol plants for fuel production. Why waste it when you can use it for making fuel? The idea was to have in place an insurance scheme and an emergency provision for distillers. What are distillers? Distillers, you can call, these are commonly used in chemistry. These are used to make fuels. This separate fuel actually, they're like filters. However, in the ongoing years, why? Because of supply constraints, there has been an uptick in the procurement of rice from the FCI. The total ethanol produced from rice lifted from the FCI stood at 26.6 crore litre, whereas that from damaged food grain outside the FCI purview stood at 16.36 crore litres. This means that production accruing from FCI rice has increased tenfold from 2.2 crore litres used in the full ESY. So this means that the ethanol produced have increased. It is now 26.64 crore and it was 2.2 crore litres. So production from damaged food grains is standard half. So whatever food grains are damaged, it uses its molasses and then make ethanol. That the export ban would endeavor to catch up with this supply and additionally unburden the FCI from provisioning to distillers. So this export ban can catch up this supply. So 26.64 crore they are making, so they have to maintain that and also unburden the FCI. So FCI will not take it as a burden to provide these food grains to distillers to make ethanol. Now what are the likely after effects of the ban? 20% you see export duty, so less export from the farmers, and then a total ban on this broken rice. What exactly will be the after effects of the ban? Geopolitical tensions between Russia and Ukraine have unsettled global food supply chain. With trade disrupted in the Black Sea region, Bloomberg reported in March that price of rice are surging because traders are betting it will be an alternative for wheat, which is becoming prohibitively expensive. India also put a ban on wheat. And why exactly? All because of overheat, or you can call heat wave in March, which is an important month when the kernels of wheat are particularly growing. So when the flour of that wheat was in the process of making, then what occurred? the sudden heat wave dried up the whole wheat and less flour is there in the wheat. So that is why the production was less. Overall weight of the wheat became less. So what traders are searching, traders are betting that this rice will be an alternative for wheat, as both are the source of carbohydrate. So that is why they are trying to make profit out of this situation. Now India is the largest exporter of rice in the world. India accounted for 41% of total rice exports in the world in 2021, larger than the next four exporters, who are the next in the list: Thailand, Vietnam, Pakistan, US combined. If you combine all of this, then also India is the largest exporter, 41%. And as for the broken rice, United States Department of Agriculture states that India accounted for more than half, 50% of the commodities global export in the first half of 2022. So first half of 2022, this India has been 50% exporter. And now what? A complete ban. As per the government's figure, between April and August this year, broken rice share in the overall rice export of India was 22.78% compared to 18.89% in fiscal year 2021. So from April to August, 22.78%. Last year it was 18%. In descending order, which means China is the biggest importer of India's broken rice. Then comes Senegal, Vietnam, Djibouti and Indonesia. So India, Senegal, Vietnam, Djibouti and Indonesia, these are the biggest importer of India's broken rice. Senior Executive Director at All India Rice Exporter Association, Vinod Kumar Kaul, told The Hindu that Thailand, Vietnam and Pakistan would gain should we happen to lose this market. Once lost, regaining the market would be a task. And why exactly? Because you see these countries, Thailand, Vietnam and then Pakistan, they are trying to become that what India is now, biggest exporter of that broken rice. So if India has put curbs, or you can call ban, these countries get a chance and India could lose this market. And once India lost its market in the global arena, then regaining that market would be a task. That means regaining would be very difficult. Mr. Kaul pegs the losses to the exporters from the ban to be about 5,600 crore for the full year. You see that all of the aspects of this rice ban were included in this ban on export of broken rice article. Now what exactly can we expect about this topic in the future? You see, climate change is the major thing that was hidden. Wheat was kept on a ban. Why exactly? Because of climate change. And then rice. Why exactly? Because of climate change. Rain deficient areas, or you can call rain deficient year, came. Why exactly? Because of climate change. Disturbance in the climate. So we can expect more of these bans in the future. Other areas. Next come the wheat. April will make sure that what is the next wheat production. And then also we can see ban. So the main thing that we should work on is to maintain, regain the lost climate environment of our earth. So next come our second topic, which is the process of inclusion exclusion from the scheduled tribes list. So why is this article written? What was in the news that turned this article to be written? So Union Cabinet have approved a proposal to add some tribes to this scheduled tribes list. What is the story so far? On September 14th, the Union Cabinet approved a proposal to add several tribes to the list of scheduled tribes in the state. Which state? Himachal Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Chhattisgarh and Uttar Pradesh. And what was the reason? Because these tribes, these communities were not able to get benefits of reservation because they were not in the list of scheduled tribes. So they are added so that they can avail of benefits that are meant for scheduled tribes, including reservation. The announcement was done by Minister of Tribal Affairs Arjun Munda, came even as the 6 tribe communities of Assam. These communities threatened to launch protest on an inordinate delay in their inclusion in the scheduled tribes list. Which communities have been added to the ST list? The communities approved for the inclusion in the ST list are Hatti tribe in the Transgiri area of Sirmaur district in Himachal Pradesh, and also the hill tribes of Nari Korban and Kuruviki Karan of Tamil Nadu, then Bhinjia community in Chhattisgarh, Gond community in certain district of Uttar Pradesh. The cabinet have approved the addition of several alternative names for already existing scheduled tribes in Chhattisgarh and Karnataka so that the difference in spellings and pronunciations do not result in members of these communities being left out of benefits meant for them. So correct spellings have been written and also correct pronunciations have been written so that this thing do not become a hurdle in availing benefits by the scheduled tribes. Now significantly, even as the Union Cabinet has decided to include these communities under the ST list, this is not the first time they have been categorized for the benefits of reservation. So this is not the first time, you know that. Scheduled tribes have been coming off from decades. Most of these communities has either included in the list of scheduled caste or most backward classes till now. So now they have shifted, erased their names from scheduled caste and backward classes and written in the scheduled tribes list. Now how exactly is a community added or removed from the scheduled caste and scheduled tribes list? Process begins at the level of a state or union territory with the concerned government or administration seeking the addition or exclusion of a particular community from SC or ST list. So process begins at the level of state or union territory for inclusion or exclusion. The final decision rests with the President Office issuing a notification specifying the changes under power vested in it from Article 341 and 342. So these are the articles that provide President the power to take final decision on this list. Inclusion or exclusion of any community in the scheduled tribes or scheduled caste list come into effect only after the President assents to the bill that amends the Constitution Scheduled Caste Order 1950 and Constitutional Scheduled Tribes Order 1950 as is appropriate after it is passed by both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. We know that any bill comes into action when President approves it. Same goes for Constitution Scheduled Caste Order 1950 as well as Constitution Scheduled Tribes Order 1950. A state government may choose to recommend certain communities for addition or subtraction from the list of SCs and STs based on its discretion. So, right of inclusion exclusion also comes a duty, or you can call a performance duty of this state government is more. Why exactly? Because they are the real adder or subtractor of this list. President only, you can call, specifies it, or President only takes the final decision. The adder or subtractor are the state government. These recommendations may come from studies it commissions, like in the case of classifying the Hatti community in Himachal Pradesh. So state government does some studies and it classifies again different communities in different uh, states. Following this, the proposal to include or remove any community from the state from the schedule list is sent to the Union Ministry of Tribal Affairs from the concerned state government. So state government does its studies, does its research, and when it finds something, then it sends its proposal to Ministry of Tribal Affairs, which is a union ministry. After this, Ministry of Tribal Affairs, through its own deliberation, it examines the proposal and then sends it to Registrar General of India. Once approved by the Registrar General of India, the proposal is sent to National Commission for Scheduled Caste or National Commission for Scheduled Tribes, following which the proposal is sent back to the Union Government, which after interministerial deliberation introduces it in the cabinet for final approval. So bill is passed. Okay, so we will start. State government finds something from studies, passes it to Ministry of Tribal Affairs, sends it, Ministry of Tribal Affairs sent it to Registrar General of India. Then when it is approved, proposal is sent to National Commission for Scheduled Caste or Scheduled Tribes. Then again proposal is sent back to Union Government, and after which interministerial deliberations occur. Then cabinet, it is introduced in the cabinet for final approval. So as for the communities approved for the addition to the list by the cabinet earlier last week, this bill was introduced in the parliament by Tribal Affairs Minister this year, specifying the exclusion of Gond community from the SC list in the 4 districts of Uttar Pradesh and moving them to ST list. So this is a movement from SC to ST of Gond community. Similarly, another bill was also introduced by Mr. Munda to shift certain communities in Jharkhand from SC list to SC list and add synonyms and variations in spelling for certain other communities in the ST list. I've already explained this, that pronunciation and spelling must be important so that you do not lose their benefits. What is the criteria to begin a process? To establish whether a community is a scheduled tribes, government looks at several criteria. What exactly are the criteria? First is including its ethnological traits, then traditional characteristic, distinctive culture, geographical isolation and backwardness. These are the 5 things: ethnological traits, traditional characteristic, distinctive culture, geographical isolation and then backwardness. However, in March this year, Supreme Court said that it wanted to fix foolproof parameters to determine if a person belongs to a scheduled tribe and is entitled to benefits due to community. So Supreme Court wants a foolproof parameters and fix it. It said that judiciary was no longer sure about an affinity test used to shift to the distinct trait to link a person to a tribe. So it says that it does not belong in such test that you can by seeing or by looking at culture and also other things, you can just link a person to a tribe. There is a likelihood, it said, that contact with other cultures, migration and modernization would have erased the traditional characteristic of a tribe. So it said that these 5 categories, distinctive culture, traditional characteristic, ethnological traits, are not the primary criteria for doing this. A person can lose its culture, can go to modernization, and this can erase the traditional characteristic of a tribe. And then how you add that person to that scheduled tribe? An apex court, which is the highest court, Supreme Court bench of Justices Hemant Gupta and V. Rama Subramaniam, referred the question of fixing the parameters to a larger bench, pointing out that the issue was a matter of importance when it came to issue caste certificates. So this is very important. How do you determine a person? How many scheduled tribes are there officially? According to scheduled tribes in India as revealed in Census 2011, there are said to be 705 ethnic groups listed as scheduled tribes. 705. Under Article 342, over 10 crore Indians are notified as STs, and of which 1.04 crore live in urban areas. The STs constitute 8.6% of the population and 11.3% of the rural population. So this was all. So what can we expect from this topic in the future? So I find Supreme Court's jurisdiction, that how can you determine the person on the basis of 5 criteria, this can be improved in the future, and this is a significant, or you can call important aspect of this list. More of these conversions can be seen, and also we should be more interested in upcoming news about the Supreme Court and government. What are they say on how they add a person to this scheduled tribes list. So this comes an end to the text and context page. Now you can read this page by yourself as well.